Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the special Flag Day edition of Focus on Liberia on Primetime Sunday. My name is Dennis John, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In our broadcast today, we're going to be addressing the question, should the flag of Liberia be changed? If yes, why? If no, why not? I have my guest, Mr. George Kanetule, who's co-host of On Point. That's an FOL program. George, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis.
I also have Mr. Cisse Goya. He's focused on Liberia educational analyst. Mr. Goya is a math teacher right there in Minnesota. Mr. Goya, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thanks for having me, Mr. John.
We have another educator, Professor Isaac C. Lakwa Zawu. He's joining us from the nation's capital. Isaac, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, Isaac is an analyst on a sister network, the Liberian Public Radio. He's joining us all the way from the DC area. Next, we are focused on Liberia political analyst, Mr. Mohammed Sharif, a product of WAPLO Institute in Kilipo, Kamyuken. Mr. Sharif, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. Yes, that's right. Product of WAPLO Institute in Kilipo, Kamyuken. At the time, Lower Grangita, right now, Riverview County. And I'm happy to be here, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif. Next, we have Mr. Chuchu Alice June, a financial guy. He is the co-founder of the movement to make Liberia better. Mr. Chuchu Alice June, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure being here.
Last but not the least is the unapologetic and unabashed Sedition. He's also a co-host on Point. That's a Focus on Liberia program, Mr. Jerome Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much. It's an honor.
The flag of Liberia, as we learned from grade school, was made by a committee of 7 ladies headed by Susanna Lewis. The flag represents so many things to so many people, but the one we know, the Lone Star represents the only country, independent country of Africa. That's the voice, the oasis of Africa. 11 stripes representing the 11 signers of the Declaration of Independence, 6 red and 5 white. And so, gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the flag. There has been a lot of talk around about the flag being changed. And so we have assembled one of the best panel on the planet to answer this question. So we're going to be going around the room, starting with Mr. George Kanetule. In less than 2 minutes, should the flag of Liberia be changed? Yes or no? And give us a reason why you think so.
No. And if you ask me, I would say, as you've asked me, I'll say no. And there are reasons why I say no. There's richness in what our flag represents. The fact is, from 1990 to now, we've abandoned the richness of our history. You see, when history is taught from the perspective of eliciting a response of patriotic nationalism, it engenders a desire by the populace to stand up for what they believe in. And for us, our flag is that symbol. But the thing is, you can't blame what people. I gave you a common example. When I was in school, in junior high school in the 80s, we sang the Lone Star Forever in the mornings at Isaac David Memorial School. In the morning, we would stand, all 3 stanzas, not just one. We sang all 3 stanzas along with the Lone Star Forever every morning. Why? Because Christine Norman, who was President Torber's daughter, the late Christine Norman, she tried to teach us what it was to be proud Liberians. That thing is missing from Liberia right now. Changing the flag will not change that. That is what we have to endeavor to do. I always said this. What is the Liberian dream? What is hoisted in Liberia that makes people to feel proud of being Liberian? Our flag is unique. Our flag draws up emotions of commitment and our belonging to a land. And we have to rekindle that fire We have to rekindle that belief once more. It represents uniqueness. Okay, I don't want to talk about the description of the different aspects of the flag. Other people can go into that. For my 2 minutes, I just wanted to say the reason why the flag has kind of lost its significance in our public discourse is because we have stopped teaching what our flag truly represents. Yes, it was the settlers who became the American Liberians who drew up the flag, but the flag represents who we are as Liberians.
Thank you. Let me go to Alex Chuchu Jones. Should the flag of Liberia be changed? If no,
Yes,
why? If yes, why?
So I believe that a flag, along with many other things, should be changed, but we'll stick to the flag for the purpose of this discussion. One, it doesn't represent what Liberia stands for any longer. The time the flag was created and the circumstances under which it was created no longer exist. For instance, being the Lone Star, Liberia obviously have not lived up to that, to be the shining light for which people from all blacks all around the world could go to Liberia and manifest their dreams of freedom. You have 11 signatories, but you have 15 counties. Where are the counties represented in the flags? And I will further make the argument that a lot of countries have changed their flag, including Canada of late, Rwanda, many countries. Liberia needs a renaissance. It needs a new vision that reflect the people, that reflect the future, not the past. Our past is bleak. Our past has been mired by, destruction, segregation, nepotism. So, in order to the rebirth of a country, for Liberia, we have to start fresh, and we have to start by changing some of these uh, symbols that really do not reflect. Lastly, our flag should be changed because everything looks like the American flag. We're African nation. Our flag should it should exhibit what we look for, where we are and who we are, not America. Our flag is like Texas flag, which doesn't make any sense. So I'll stop there and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are talking about the flag. Should the flag of Liberia be changed? If yes, why? If no, why not? Let me go to Mr. Cisse Goya. Mr. Goya.
Yeah, so I came to this as an educator. And what that means is I'm here to live up to the mantra of Focus on Liberia, to educate and to learn. As of my speech right now, my answer is no. And I'm open to listen to the smart people I got on this panel to see if they can present to me an academic reason why we should change the flag. For me, this has to be crafted into maybe reasons. Are we asking to change the flag because of an academic laziness, like my brother Jones talked about? It looks like the Texas flag, which it doesn't, because Liberia got independence before Texas got statehood. But that's a whole different thing. Or that it looked like the United States of America stuff. That is academic laziness on the part of us, right? So is that the argument? Or are we talking about harm? Are we talking about historical harm? What harm has the flag done, right? Or what harm does it symbolize? And so if we're talking in that view, I'm willing to listen. But as of now, looking at the flag and looking at what it has presented or what it represents, at least from my second grade, third grade civics class, as representing courage and Black excellence and the dark continent of Africa being represented by the blue field and the one star representing the only one independent republic at the time in Africa, which Liberia was and which Liberia still is. So until and unless I can see an academic disposition of why we need to change the Liberian flag, either because of historical harm or because of academic laziness, I am yet to see why we can change that. So for you, for now, in my 2 minutes, I would say no, the Liberian flag does not need to be changed because I haven't seen any reason to convince me otherwise.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Jerome Gilman.
There's some feedback from somewhere.
If you're not speaking, please mute yourself and see if I can control it. Go ahead, Mr. Gilman.
I think the flag should be changed. We have to give credit where credit is due. The forefathers were working with what they had, and they did what it was meant to do at the time. when you look at, my brother is talking about academic debate here. When we look at the Pew Research, and that question came about in one of my graduate school classes, and I asked my professor, Marco Dukakis, what is the symbol? What does the word flag, what does a flag mean to a nation? And he says, in short, the flag should do one major thing. It should bring the people together and not divide them. We should have a consensus on what it means to us. And I would say, at the time of the founding of the nation, there may have been consensus among those who were bringing forth a new nation. But as my brother also said in the same breath, flags do change, conditions do change, times have changed. I think he said when at the time there was the signatories to the flag was 11. Now we have, if we were to have a new flag and we have a roundtable discussion, we will have one signatory from each county. That makes now 15. So what I'm saying here, the time has changed. The time is now for us to rally around a new symbol that will bring us together than divide us. If you ask someone from River G, from Riverside County, from McGibby County, from Bombing County, they will tell you that the representative of those flags were Grand Bassa County, Monserrato, and so forth. So I would think and truthfully believe that we owe it to ourselves that the flag should be changed to bring us together.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Isaac C. Lakpo Zawlo. Isaac, should the flag of Liberia be changed or not?
Yes, the flag of Liberia should be changed. And thank you very much, Dennis. I want to thank all of my very, very, very bright, members of the panel. I think they gave something that I want to take up from. I think Mr. Tule talk about prayer. Talk about the flag to be able to enact courage, passion, to patriotism. And then Mr. Goya talk about the flag being representative of the people. I think those are also shared by Alex and Jerome. A flag is a symbol of a people as you represent the people. I don't know whether we will. Is there anybody who will disagree that our country was built on flawed principles? The founding fathers of our country ignored the involvement and participation of a significant sector of the population. At that time, maybe we would say that was the only possible option they had. That was what they had to do, given the fact that maybe those people who they met on the land was hostile. So they had to organize the country in that way. But then came 1980. The events of 1980 changed Liberia. It gave birth to the Second Republic. I wouldn't want to agree with my friend and brother Alex Jones to say that flag can just be changed or so. But there are incidents of history that can make necessary for those kind of change. When we gave birth to the Second Republic in 1986, I think that was a very important opportunity for us to attach a flag to that Second Republic, our representative of the country that we have just created. It says Second Republic. Those symbols that we have on the present flag right now, those are symbols of the First Republic. 11 men signed the Constitution. There was 11 Declaration of Independence. There were 3 settlements, so you have the 3 colors. You had dark continent of Africa. Africa is not dark, by the way.
Thank you.
We have to be very careful as we put labels on ourselves.
Thank you.
We talked about box earlier, and that's how the Europeans will then begin to put us in the box that we are dark and it's evil. So we got to be very careful with this thing. So I believe the flag should be changed to reflect the changes that have unfolded in the new nation.
Thank you.
1986.
Thank you. So from what I'm hearing, and we have 2 more that are trying to get in. We have 2 more persons who I don't know the side they're going to take. But from what I see, 2 persons here say the flag should not be changed. 3 say the flag should be changed. Let me start by asking our brothers who say the flag should be changed. What does changing the flag mean, and what is it going to accomplish? Let me start with Mr. Gaiman.
Well, right off the bat, if we were to have, let's say, a round table to bring to the discussion what it means to have a flag and what a flag is. At this point, we will have a representative from River G. We'll have a representative from Bomi. Those are new counties, or even Lofa and Bong, that were not part of the original flag making ceremony. I can say that because I'm from Grand Bassa County and we were at that table at the time. Does that mean that my cousins from River says that were not part of the process, but they were also put in the stewardship of Grand Bassa County? They were called River says territory. They were a territory of Grand Bassa County. We spoke for them. We appointed representatives from them. They did not have a voice in this. Now they are an independent county. They will have a representative at that seat. They will define what a flag means to them and what it should look like. In that, we can all now build a curriculum that is national, that will teach us, like we do in this country, from pre-K. We have been, we said, doctrinated in what it is to be an American and all of that. But it has to be oneness, collective. It has to be done by all. We talk about men, women, and the youth. And in that light, until that is done, I think the flag have done injustice to those who were not at the table at the time.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, same question.
You are muted.
Mr. Jones, please unmute yourself.
Yes. All right. Sorry, gentlemen. Let me give you an example. Rwanda, following the genocide in 2001, decided to change their flag. And the reason to change their flag was that they were verging for a new future. The previous flag, which was the three vertical stripes with the arrow in the middle, had become associated with the genocide. And I will use that just as a benchmark, but many countries, including Canada, changed their flag. Georgia, I mean, even Russia in 2000, in the 90s rather, changed their flag. Liberians have a way of not getting away from the past. We had a very devastating civil war. For that reason alone, which of course the flag and what the country was built upon, the segregation, the isolation of certain groups, certain tribes, which led to the war that killed so many people. And we've never gotten to move forward and look forward to prevent those things. I mean, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee tried to address some of those things, what caused the war, and how we can move forward as a nation. So we kind of like stuck in reverse in Liberia. When I hear people talk about True We Party, and I think a show was on earlier about Toba and Totma, they never built a foundation for any of us to be proud. We're all in exile. We all can't go home because of bad regimes and the health system and all that stuff. But yet we are glorifying the past. It's time to move forward, not just a flag, but I think it's time to bring everyone to the table. Like my brother said, you have 15 counties, you have 15 more than I think 16 tribes in Liberia. Why can't these people now come together to create a new future for Liberia? Why are we afraid of the future? Why are we always stuck in the past?
Mr. Jones, so for your 1 minute left, what will changing the flag accomplish?
Well, it will evoke a spirit of a new Liberia, which is what Liberia needs. It will give us the confidence that what happened in the past, the symbols, all of the lack of unity, the war, we've done with that, like Rwanda. They changed their flag, they changed their constitution, they changed a lot of stuff in Rwanda, and today Rwanda is a beacon of hope and economic prosperity. Where Liberia, that glorifies their flag, glorifies even the names of people who oppressed them, who stole their country's wealth, leaders. We glorify them and still hoping that we should tear those things down and build a new future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Mohammed Sharif, who's just joining us. Mr. Sharif, should the flag of Liberia be changed? If yes, why? If no, why not?
No, the flag of Liberia should not be changed. Any change, any re-examination of our national symbols, such as the flag of Liberia, has to take into consideration the sensibilities of the different ethnicities and the different geographical areas in Liberia. More than anything else, we need to change our national attitude on how we view each other. We need our government, whether it's Charles Taylor's government, whether it was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's government, whether it's the government of George Opong Mane Uwea, it doesn't matter. There has to be a re-examination of our national attitude towards our fellow men and women, our fellow men and women, our country. Because right now, what you see, and this is not just a new phenomenon, what you see is a culture of unpatriotic behaviors exhibited by our national leaders, exhibited by individuals who call themselves patriotic Liberians. So you ask a very serious.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Isaac Zawro. What is changing the flag? What does that mean, and what is it going to accomplish?
Okay, changing the flag will accomplish a whole host of things. But first of all, let me just establish a few things and disavow a few concepts here. One, changing the flag would not necessarily be panacea to many multifaceted problems that confront our country. Let's establish that. But extremely important is the fact for people to have a sense of belonging. The present flag we have does not establish a sense of belonging for a significant sector of our population. Doesn't. It glamorizes or glorifies the actions taken by a few. And if you go back to history, which we were taught in school, those actions taken by those few, if you read the history books, you saw that those actions were intended to ridicule, to malign the character of the people they met, and for us to be holding on to symbols bequeathed to us by the very same people who are disrespectful to the people who they met on our land. I think it sends a message of isolation. The second thing about one of the things about flag we have to address is the issue of I hear Zize says it's a lazy academic argument, but copyright is an academic crime. And what those people who created our flag did was that they copyrighted another country's flag and tried to create reasons why they use those different things. So we got to be very careful. Now, when the event of 1980 did not establish a new republic, but it created a condition for the establishment of the new republic. Let people understand, we are living in the second republic, which started, I think, 1986. Normally, when you have these kind of changes, when you talk about First Republic and Second Republic, it comes with the changing of the national symbols to reflect the new national direction.
Thank you.
And so our symbols must reflect that new national direction, which we assume when we adopted the Constitution for the Second Republic in 1986.
Let me go back to you, Mr. Sharif. What problem? So on the reverse side, you can complete your thought, but my question to you is, what problems will changing the flag cause?
Again, I want to apologize because of the bad connection around here, which I really overlooked for some reason, and I don't really know what's going on. I can't explain what's going on right now, and I don't know how long I'm going to stay on. But if I will finish my thought, and I was saying, rather than picking on a flag, right? So when if we change this flag now, what flag does any of the panelists think that we can replace this flag with? And what would that represent? Who would that represent? We have a situation right now Well, Front Street in Monrovia, right? It's actually King Salboso Street. It is not.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Tule. We have a problem here with Mr. Sheriff's connection. Mr. Tule, if we were to change the flag today, what problem is it going to cause?
Like I stated earlier, I'm not for changing the flag. I don't. It's not. The reality is changing. Let me say this: a flag represents a people, an identity, a national identity. And like I said earlier, there is nothing wrong with what we currently have. Nothing wrong with it. The fact is, why am I having feedback? Hello?
Somebody is not muted, so you're having the feedback in your. I'm hearing the feedback. I think.
I know it's not me. Okay, anyways. Hold on, let me turn all my Facebook off. All right. Hello? Okay. So this is where I'm going with this. If you change the flag, like in the situation with Rwanda, for instance, changing their symbols was not the catalyst for growth and development. The catalyst for growth and development was an ideology that led a visionary ideology that was communicated to the general body politic of Rwanda that garnered a response, a patriotic response from the people when they say, let's fight corruption, let's do this, they did the foundational work. And like I said, every time you hoist the flag in Liberia, there is a response. There's a national response. Just see when Lone Star go play football. What has been lacking is the civic education and national leadership to create the consciousness and the awareness of the Liberian people that we are a great nation, that we are a great people, that we ought to raise our heads and walk in pride. There has been a disconnect. That message cannot go through because the people who are in power have neglected the people who they have been leading. You see? So as a result, even if you change the flag, it's the first thing you're gonna have issues. Liberia right now, if you say let's change the flag, a lot of people will be in disagreement with who designed the flag, what design was chosen. Am I included? Did they consider me? The different geopolitical groups. So that is not the issue. Our issue is not the flag or even the coat of arms or the patriotic songs we sing. The issue is leadership and the neglect of leadership in providing the way forward for our people. So as a result, everyone has become existential in their mentalities. So even if you change the flag, once you don't hoist a national patriotic ideology and vision that people can identify with and sacrifice for, nothing is going to change.
Right. So my question to you is, if we change the flag to whatever the guys who are opting for changing it say, if we change it to that color, what issue what's going to happen? What bad going to happen?
Well, nothing bad will happen, but it's just an exercise in futility. Because Dennis, my point is this: if you change the flag, change everything about Liberia, the name and all, right? The first flag we had a cross. It was the same design that was done in 1827. It had a cross instead of a star. Go back. The difference is if you do not resolve the foundational issues, nothing is going to change. You change the flag, you put in mediocre leadership that is self-centered and partisan in its orientation, you're not going to get anything. You need patriots, nationalists that will move our nation, into a renaissance, into a change. We are backwards because we always elect people who are not invested in advancing the nation.
Let me go to Mr. Goya. Mr. Goya, same question. For some reason, if the flag is changed today, what's going to happen?
So let me first correct something, a misunderstanding of something I said that Professor Zawulu tried to pounce on. I did say in my opening that I'm here to learn. So I wanted people to educate me on why they need a flag change. And are we advocating for the flag to be changed because of the academic laziness that went into creating the flag, which I meant by plagiarism? So I'm not telling you that plagiarism is not an academic crime. I being a teacher myself. So let's correct that piece. The next piece I also wanted to check on is Mr. Gaiman. You know, we're all here. We're all smart people. When we talk about Pew Research, we want to list the research. Don't quote Pew Research and then quote one professor. That is not a research. Statistically, as a statistician myself, that is not an argument. And again, like I said, I'm here to learn and try to change my mind. But having said that, to get to your question, Mr. John, there are a few things that's been said here I want to talk about, right? The first piece is my name is Gedwoba Sizigoya. I am from Lofa County. Everything about me is from Lofa County. My grandfather fought for the Liberian Frontier Force when my county was not even a part of the republic. We were taxed without representation. So let's understand that. Let's lay that out. Having said that, I think we're missing a whole lot of things here. The flag as we have it, the 11 stripes as we have them right now, which is a change from the original one that had the Latin cross that my brother talked about, represents 11 delegates. Those 11 delegates, not the 3 colonies. So when we're talking about why don't we have 15, because now we have 15 counties, it's comparing apples and oranges. The flag does not represent, it does not have 3 stripes representing the 3 original colonies. It has 11 stripes representing the 11 delegates, because we had 12 signers, right? Because there was a secretary, Proud, who is not considered a delegate, therefore we have 11 stripes. So let's be very careful about how we're looking at what the symbols are in the flag. And if I want to go back to, somebody saying that holding on to symbols that were bequeathed to us, and this is my professor's speech, that were bequeathed to us by harm. So what do we do then? Because this flag, as it is right now, with the stripes, represents the 11 delegates who signed our Declaration of Independence. If we are so mad to say they don't represent all of Liberia, then we'll go back to revoke our independence, because those same 11 people will still be there as the original signers of our independence. So we're missing a whole lot of stuff. And I agree to an extent with my brother Jones, that there are certain things in the Liberian ecosystem that has to change, like certain names, because certain people have done historical harm, that we can't honor those people. I get that, but that's a conversation for a different day. If we are talking about the flag and what it represents, the red, the white, and the blue, there has never been an instance in Liberia where people have come up and say, I don't like the flag represents historical harm to me. So Dennis Jar, you telling me changing that, what would that cost? It costs mass confusion. As it is right now, we only have people who can vote right. Talk about going back to try to see how we change a flag. So my biggest thing here is that show me, in the United States, when we see the flag of the Confederacy, people get mad, because when there was a war, there was a side that raised their flag as a symbol of holding other people down. And my brother Jones tried to bring in the war mixed in with the war in the civil war in the United States to change our flag. No rebel movement in Liberia. There was none that did not raise the red, white, and blue. They all had a red, white, and blue. So it's not like there was one force that had it and then committed that atrocity. We said
it's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Goya. Let me go to the brothers who want the flag to be changed. First of all, let's get this straight. And this is for all of you. Does changing the flag represent erasing the history of the ex-slaves or the American Liberians or whatever name you will call it? Because this is something that has been coming up. And I want each of you to respond to that. Does changing the flag does it mean we are erasing the history of those who founded the modern state, Liberia? Mr. Gaiman. You're muted. Please unmute.
Absolutely not. In fact, in our Bassa vernacular, in our Bassa tradition, they say you build a new mat on top of the old map. That shows you the value of the old map. So what we are saying here is, if you look at the history of the Liberian delegates that my brother talked about, you notice that he didn't say there were 5 women and 6 men. He left out, he's a mathematician. He's a statistician. He knows this. He didn't say that. That tells me 11 guys sat in one room and decided for everybody else. We are saying we will be fully represented. We're going to have women. We're going to have men. Now we're going to have segment of the society that this flag represents to have a say. So in social science, I'm a social scientist, where there's something that we value called shared value. There has to be something that we share among us, that we stand to say this is a solemn identity that will be respected in Nigeria. So we have a shared value. The shared value at the time was American Liberians or settlers that came from here, and we are not saying that they were wrong, but they were working with what they had to work with. If you look at the United States flag, the symbol, the flag had changed so many times. When they began, there were 13 colonies. They had different stripes. As early as late as 1952, when they added the 50th star, that flag changed again to identify, to tell us that things have changed, times have changed, and the United States have risen to that level. Liberia has changed to about 174, actually 200 years, because the Providence Baptist Church just sent me an invitation that they are establishing and celebrating a bicentennial. 200 years of the Providence Baptist Church been there. So Liberia has been around that long. It's time for us to change and face the reality so we can have shared values.
Mr. Tule, does changing the flag mean erasing the history or discrediting those who founded the modern state of Liberia?
Yes. And this is what I'm against. I am not saying, you see, the reality, your history is your history, right? Whether good, bad, indifferent, it doesn't matter. Your history is your history. Give you a common example. Germans right now cannot say they disavow or they refuse to accept the history from 1936 or 1929 or even, let's take it back, 1914 all the way to 1945 or 1946. They cannot just wake up one morning and say, no, this is part of our history. We don't want it anymore. We are who we are. Okay? And the reality is the flag has done no damage to Liberia. If you took or if you went and did a poll or a referendum right now, I'm very sure a lot of Liberians will say they have no problem with keeping the red, white, and blue. Because the flag is not the issue. The flag is not Liberia's problem right now. The problem here is this, that for a long time, we have existed as a people with an existential mentality.
Mr. Tule,
yeah,
I wanted to address this question because it's been lingering. That is, this changing this, how does it erase the history of the settlers?
Oh, yeah, because all they're trying to say now, because the TWP and the Republicans before them ran a government that was kind of pseudo-apartheid in orientation. So as a result, because franchise was not, as extended to the body politic, the indigenous. So as a result, that part of our history needs to be whitewashed. It needs to be done away with, all right? Because as if to say that it is not our real history. As if to say Tubman wasn't real. As if to say before Tubman, all these other presidents and all the occurrences in Liberia were real. The reality is this. That is our history. And I'm saying our historical context doesn't have an issue in our present. What we need to do is to sit down as a nation, people like the professor and everyone, all the stakeholders, and decide what we want as a country.
Thank you. Mr. Goya, same question.
So, I will get to your answer, but we have to be careful when we're comparing apples and oranges, man. I just heard my brother Gamer talk about the U.S. flag and it changing. We have to understand the context, because context is necessary. In America, when the flag was first created, there were 13 colonies. So the stars were representative of the individual colonies that made up the United States at the time. And therefore, when new colonies or now states were brought in, there had to be a star to represent those new colonies. And Liberia is different. We didn't have 3 stripes to represent the 3 original colonies, which were Mosorado, Grand-Bassau, and Sino. And then, so if we had that, then I would say absolutely we need to change the amount of stripes to first account for
Mr. Goya.
Liberia.
Mr. Goya, the 3 colors represent the 3 original counties.
No. Nowhere have I read that. I've not read that anywhere in my mind. So if you link me to that research, I'll be more than willing to change my mind. But I've not read that anywhere that we have only 3 colors because of the 3 colonies. As a matter of fact, we had 3 colors because my brother Josh today just talked about our first flag, which had the Latin cross. If you compare that first flag with the Latin cross to the flag of the colonization of the colonization society, American colonization society, it's the exact flag of the American colonization society with the 3 colors, which is borrowed from the American with the 3 colors. It's not because of 3 colonies in Liberia. That I have not seen any research on that, right? Okay. That is a made up stuff. But yet, let me get back to your answer, right? That there are so many things that we can't change without changing our history. But if the flag, since the flag was built on with this made up, was based on the delegates, the number of delegates to the convention that declared independence and signed our first constitution that got changed in 1986. We're 11. We can't change that. There's no way that can ever be changed. My question to you is, if those 11 signers, all men, because my brother wanted to put that up, all men, they now have women in there, sign our independence, and we're so mad at that.
Mr. Goya, you're going back to that same issue. The question you didn't really answer. Let me go to Mr. Zaulo. Mr. Zaulo, does changing the flag have any reflection on erasing the history of those who founded the modern Liberian state? You are muted. It looked like you are.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good. Look, I don't think so. And I don't think it will be my interest to, or anyone's interest to erase our history. But I think what changing the flag would do will create a sense of belonging, which is extremely important. You know, when people talk about some of the national challenges we have in our country, I hear Mr. Tule talk about, maybe changing the psyche, the mindset, changing those things that, some other people are writing and talking about these things about corruption, that changing the flag would not necessarily, end corruption, all those things that are impediments towards the forward progress of our country. Now, how do we know that? How do we know that? One reason why some Liberians are not as patriotic as we want them to be is it because is it because of the fact that we have a national symbol that isolates them? We have a national symbol that doesn't give them any place in it. How do we know that that might not be impacting some of our people? I'm not saying that that's the case. So look, again, let's be very careful. When we sat down, when we constituted a constitutional commission, and we sent people to go and rewrite our constitution, we were saying that our past has some problems and has some challenges. And we were prepared now to take a step forward into a new republic. And so, 1986, we adopted a new constitution, and we began to say that we're now living in the second republic. Don't you think that the symbols we use must be reflected of the changes that our people decided on when they gathered to adopt a new constitution? Don't you think so? So maybe that's one of the problems we have to say. The fact that we have a symbol that represents our past, and we want to go to the future, but we don't have a symbol of the future. We still don't have a national symbol that brings together all Liberians. We still have a symbol that represents 3 colonies, because the people who signed the Declaration of Independence came from 3 colonies. I'll end there.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I've been patiently listening to my brothers here. And I'm not a historian, so I wouldn't profess. I'll leave this to our historian. I think we do have a few. And But what I can say is that to respond to the question, the comments that were made earlier, that our present today is a reflection of our past. What we've done in the past is why we are where we are today. If you're going to have a country where you're going to isolate the majority of the population, you're going to subdue, you're going to disenfranchise them, you're going to end up in war and destruction. At some point, those people will revolt. You saw that in South Africa. You saw that even within the United States earlier in the 1700s and earlier. So,
Mr. June, how does the flag do that?
Well, the flag itself is not a representation of the entire country. There's nothing in the flag, in my opinion, that represents the different all of the counties or the culture. The flag is simply what you call an imagination of America, America's flag, a copy, a replicate of it, regardless of what was inscribed. It's plagiarism. I mean, you just took another country's flag, you took all the stars, and I will go to this point. 1960, for instance, the United States altered the flag. They added the new state, so therefore they added a new stripe. So I mean, we can't be stagnated in our thinking and as a nation. We have to, like somebody said, we have to get away from this academic laziness. We have a lot of historians. We have a lot of marketing people. Bring them together and let them even discuss this issue. Let them figure out what is the best symbol for Liberia. Where would this evoke? But just from a business and financial standpoint, I would say that whenever you are trying to rebrand yourself, for instance, Apple had a symbol. The first symbol wasn't the Apple you're looking at. Over time, that symbol has changed to what it is today, and it will continue to change. So from a rebranding standpoint, if a country has failed, Liberia is a failed state, we all know it. It's the poorest country in the world by most economic and social human index metrics. You have nothing. Half of your well-to-do live in the diaspora. Okay, your life expectancy, so what are you celebrating?
Thank you.
Time, so what would the flag do? Not just the flag, but starting with the flag. Get a committee of Liberians, historians, literati, get together and start thinking about how the country can reinvigorate and a new path. That's my point.
Thank you. Now, let me bring you back, Mr. Goya. Other African countries have made changes either to their names, to their flag, and so forth. So this is nothing new. We've seen even Great Britain have changed. They have changed their flag so many times. What's wrong with Liberia changing? I remember Declaration Day in Liberia. We can't even change that, even though when it was copied from America, we had Declaration. America has changed to have Memorial Day. We're still going on with Declaration Day. What's wrong with us changing stuff to reflect realities or to reflect how we are, progressing? What's wrong with that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with changing stuff. But what stuff are we changing? And what's the rationale? Right? To just compare us to other things without looking at the context is really wrong. And like I said in my opening statement, I'm here to just listen to the academic argument, not the how we feel. Like Professor Zawo was saying, what if? How do we know that people are not patriotic because of the flag? Well, we don't know that, but how do you know that the flag will change that? Right? We can sit there and do all the what if. That's not scientific. That's not academic.
Wow.
Right? So I could sit here and say, well, maybe that because we're eating too much grumpy in Liberia, I make it we're not patriotic. So let's stop eating grumpy in Liberia. How do you know that? Maybe people eat too much toboggi. That's why we're not patriotic. Let's ban toboggi in Liberia. We can't do that. That's not how you have an academic discussion on issues. And I came here to learn, but I haven't learned anything yet.
So be careful with the toboggi.
Let me answer your question, right? What happened with African countries changing their names? Because those African countries were colonized, and there was a brutality attached to the colonial power that gave them their names. Hence, we had to change Rhodesia. Hence, we have to change other places. We are discussing. I don't have a problem with changing Front Street to King South Boston Street. I don't have a problem with changing, somewhere to Swakoko, right? Changing Liberia. I have not discussed that. My point we're here to discuss, and I want to remain within context, is the Liberian flag. And if you tell me to change the Liberian flag, and you say, well, America had a new colony, a new state, so they changed their flag. Absolutely, it was necessary, because America's idea, the context behind their flag, was that the original colonies, every colony was represented by a star in the flag. Therefore, when you have a new colony, i.e. a new state, you have to have that state represented in the flag. Liberia is different. We have a flag that is based on the number of people that signed our Declaration of Independence. That number has not changed. That number will never change. It makes no sense to change it.
We are not saying that you couldn't leave the number of people who signed. You could leave that in the flag. You could still have a number of representation of them.
So then what would the new explanation for?
You say you're looking for.
Hold on, Alex. Let's just end this stuff.
So let me end real quick, right? Because we keep going back to this thing like there was a historical harm comparable to what's happening in Rhodesia, what happened in the Southern African states. There is not, because we were not even colonized by a country. A part of us was bought by a.
Yeah, but those are.
I won't make this thing back and forth because.
Hold on, Alex. Go ahead.
Because, like I said, I didn't come on here with my mind fixed. So you allow me to land, and I'll listen to you, and I'm willing to understand where you come from, and I'm willing to change my mind. That was my opening statement, that I came here to learn, right? But until now, all of the logic, all of the argument that's been given about changing stuff is been trying to compare apples to oranges, and it's been all over the place. And for me, my point is, as an indigenous Liberian who come from Lofa County, that was not even a state up to 1950 when we had the Liberian Frontier Force, and my grandfather fought for the Liberian Frontier Force. I do understand the irony, right? But had this flag had the rationale behind the 11 stripes being about the original colonies, I would be here telling you, well, we have new colonies. We got 15 counties. Let's change that. But that was not a rationale. So to come back and say, well, because Great Britain had changed, because Rhodesia has changed their name, so we need to change Liberia. It does not compare. That's my point I'm trying to make.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif. Besides the flag of Liberia, do you believe anything, any national symbol, could be names, could be anything else, be changed?
So, if you will indulge, I have missed a significant portion of time. And, so if I will complete some of my original thought, and I will come to that. So, about changing the flag. And I mentioned earlier that if anything, we need to change our national attitude towards governance, towards how we as individual citizens, right, treat our fellow countrymen and women, toward how we individual citizens, carry ourselves. So what does changing the flag, you asked the question earlier to one of the panelists, what does changing the flag, what would it do for us? I'm not sure that, during the constant back and forth with the interruption in my, communication network, I'm not sure if I got a concrete answer as to why changing the flag is necessary at this time. We're saying, well, they were the colonial masters, people who came in and, they suppressed us. Yes, but what symbol are you willing to, what institutional symbols are you willing to keep? Which ones are you willing to get rid of? What institutions are you willing to keep? Because, on the one hand, you tell me that, these people brought churches and stuff like that. Okay. And a lot of Liberians are Christians. That is acceptable. But here is a piece of cloth that is symbolizing, that's representing the nation. But somehow that's not acceptable. And my other problem is, if we're going to change the flag, who is it going to represent now? how is the new flag going to represent all of us when we can't even get around to talking to one another about the food that we eat? So these are the things. And to your question about which nationals, you asked a question about what other symbols need to be changed, if, other than the flag, if there's any symbol that need to be changed. Is that, did I understand that right?
Besides the flag, if any national symbol, names of cities, rivers, or anything for that matter, if you agree for that to be changed.
Now, so the issue still is for me, what, changing that, what would it do for us? Would it unite us better, more than we are now? I'll go back to, King Salboso Street, which is still called Front Street. People have deliberately refused to call it King Salboso Street for a reason. King Salboso Kamara was a Muslim. He was a Mandingo. So nobody is trying to call this place King Salboso Kamara Street. It's called Front Street now. It's popularly called Front Street, but officially it's King Salboso Kamara Street. So if we can't even come around to accepting the name of one street for someone who was the leader of the nation, a leader in early Liberia, then, how can we, I'm not sure if we will be able to come around to changing anything else. So I doubt that changing anything else, like the flag, or, let's change the name of Monrovia to something else. Let's change the name of Buchanan or Harper. I'm not sure if, those are solutions to, what is going on now in our country.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Addie Tyler from Pennsylvania, and you're watching Focus on Liberia.
We're going to take some time to bring in our callers. Callers, the number is on the screen to be a part of the conversation. Let me go to you, Professor Zaulo.
Yep.
This is my question. Thinking about changing the flag, I believe if you support changing the flag, you must have an idea what the new flag should look like. What are your thoughts? And what is that going to do with this new flag? What is it going to look like? And how is it going to be different from what we have now? Significantly.
It will be something that will unify. It will be something that will not isolate any section of our population. It will be something that will bring the people together. It will be something that will be representative of our Africanness. It will be something that will rally, patriotism, sense of nationalism. It will be something that will make every Liberian to feel that this country is not just, they didn't just belong to just a handful of people, but it belonged to the people in Kawiakan, it belongs to people in Butu, it belongs to people in Wayne, in County, and all across the country.
And how is that going to look?
I don't know how it's going to look, because I don't think that should be something that will be done by 11 persons. I don't think that should be something that will be done by a small group of people. But I think putting together a representative group of Liberians.
No, but Isaac, how does the current flag, how does it not represent people from Lokatu or people from River Bay?
3 colonists, it represented everything in it was about the 3 colonists. You just said it, this said that was not what that was in there. We went to school different times. You and I maybe, and Tizi went to school at different times. You say you didn't read it? I know I read that. The 3 colors represented the 3 colonists. The Signatory Declaration of Independence came from the 3 colonists. They didn't come from Nimba. They didn't come from,
Isaac and Jerome, you can help with that too. We talk about red represent, one represent courage, purity, valor. These things represent anybody, right? How does that?
I don't know what a blue, the dark continent. I don't know what is not insulting.
Right, yeah, but we can choose to call it. We can choose to call it the blue continent. We could choose to call it anything.
Yeah,
right?
Why would you call it blue continent representing what? Why is it blue? Why is it
right? But that is just what we interpret. We can even say, well, the blue represent from today. The blue represent the blue skies. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, but
the red represent palm butter. What's wrong with that?
But
that might be significant changes too. That might be changes in the right direction, maybe.
Mr. Ja.
Yes, sir.
You know, I know my brother here. He's a mathematician, so he speaks. Mathematicians usually think on linear solution. That means they are focused on one way. In the social sciences, we talk about theory. Because let's look at 1721, 1722 in the United States. The Constitution of the United States precluded black folks, said black men were 3/5 of a human being. That was in the law. That was in the law. Then in the social sciences from the University of Chicago, we have a guy by the name of George Herbert Mead. He talks about interaction symbolism, how interacting with other folks, and the view of the present says a lot, and the acceptance of the past. So we, the new folks who are on the scene, we cannot sit in a little. I like when they did the Constitution, and Professor Zawolo talked about it. Just like they did the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, they went to every county, including the diaspora, and they took testimony. What does this mean to you? That flag, as it is now, and as we are hoping it will be, this question will be asked. Lofa County or Kawi Camp, what should a flag look like that you are willing to die for? What should it look like? What should it represent? Symbolism is very, very important in social sciences because it determines who we are, and we should have a shared value. If I do not share in what you do, and I give you the example of my father. When my father in the interior has a radio, every 6 o'clock he puts it on it to listen to Joseph M.N. Bayou. Because Joseph M.N. Bayou spoke the Bassa language and told us what Jesus wanted us to do, and he liked that. Whenever he was preempted and Talbot came on to speak for 2 hours, he would go to sleep, wake up, and turn around and say, God, okay. He said, the man is still here. What is he talking about? This man is crazy. He talked for 3 hours. My father had no shared value or giving 3 hours of speeches and telling them whether he had nothing or he had nothing. He wants to know what Jesus said because we have one thing in common. That's Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
So what I'm saying here before I close up, we have to go to every nook and crannies of the country and say, what should a flag look like and what it will mean? And are you willing to die for it? And if they make that swollen commitment, we're ready to go.
Let me bring in our caller, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. Tuesday is Flag Day, August 24. And I don't know which of you went to the BTC to drill during Flag Day. If you were in Monrovia, Sissy, don't put your hand up. Anyway, we're going to now open our phone lines to get our callers. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from? Go ahead, Ben.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello.
Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ja. I want to make an economic argument.
1 minute, please.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Yeah. As I said, my argument is an economic argument. Our national resources are substantially depleting. And the things that hinder us, we fail to recognize them. We are divided in Liberia, not because of ethnicity, our tribal lineage. We cannot overcome it. It's something that's staying in our way. It intoxicates us. Look at Liberia today. All of the IO they have in mind, instead of us focusing on making our future better, making our children better, directing our resources, prioritizing our resources, we are thinking about flag. Now, even if, for argument's sake, if the flag was important, if the issue of the flag was important, is the most important thing right now?
Thank you.
That's the question.
Thank you. That's fair enough.
It's about priority and economic issues. See you there.
Thank you. Let's go to the phone lines. Call out your name and where you calling from. Constance? Constant Duopo, you are live. Go ahead.
I just want to make a contribution when you say how does the changing of the flag benefit us? One of the benefits of changing the flag would be that Liberians are committed to the flag because they are all represented. Their ideas, their thoughts. If you have a flag that was signed by 11 persons that came to Liberia, the history is there. We're not trying to erase the history, but want to make progress. It is very important that we discuss these things and try to go to the root. That flag does not represent our ideas as Liberians. It's a total photocopy fake thing. And because the world is changing, Liberians know that now that people just came lazy people. They did not put their thoughts into anything. Just grab the American people flag, copy it, move little things, and then took it to Liberia. And people want us to believe that even in the 21st century, we should just stick by this because it's history. That is, it doesn't hold.
Thank you.
History and change is a process. You talk about corruption, you want your react to change, but the things that created these problems, we do not want to address them. We just want to say, because the 5% or the 3% of those people that funded that country still see, because this flag, we all have to honor it. They are the only ones who should lead us.
Thank you.
These are the problems with these things, these symbols.
Thank you, Constant.
Change.
Thank you. Let me go to my next caller. And that's Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, you are live. 1 minute, please.
Hey, John, good show, good discussion. But let's go to some empirical definition of what a flag symbolizes. It's an identification. Those people who adopted that flag, they saw themselves as Americans, Africans, returning to Africa, but they still saw themselves as Americans. So when they came here, everything they did was not to expand their understanding of Africa, but to perpetuate who they were. They didn't have a playbook. The only playbook of people coming to Africa was a European playbook, was one of enslavement and colonization. They didn't even know what they were doing. But today, if we want to represent ourselves, we all have to be able to identify with that. We are not Americans. We are Africans. And the African color is red, green, and black, and gold. It is essential that we, not just, but changing the flag is not significant if you're not going to change attitudes, if you're not going to change symbols. The love of liberty should not bring us here, it should bind us here. We have other very fundamental things to change if we're going to put ourselves on the road to success.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Just making exercises and not fundamentally changing our attitudes will do nothing.
Thank you, Jimmy. And my panelists, please jot this down. I want to go through the calls quickly. Let me go to our next caller. That's Opa Ansu Dualo. You're live. You have 1 minute, please.
Hey. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate the show. Maybe people are taking the word change out of context. Let's use the word evolve then instead of using change. This is my argument. Now, I want to speak to Brother Muhammad first. He said that the flag is a mere cloth with the significance not important. Let me tell you something. A national identity is tied to very few things in Liberia, in a nation that is more important than the national identity of that country. If we have not fully defined that, not just the flag, when you're talking about our statement, the law of liberty brought us here, if 90% of the country was excluded, we have to have this consistency of acceptance of who we are as a people. Look, we understand nobody's trying to remove the American flag because it's not a Liberian flag. Okay, we are trying to evolve this flag. It is for the benefit of all of us. If we are going to create a definition of Liberia, that definition must be indigenous to us. Now, I began this process, John. You always know me when something is this important. I write about it. I want people to Google Restart Liberia and build a new foundation. In that article, one thing I stress in the article is redefining who we are as a people, our culture, our traditions. What define us as a civilization. If we are going to move forward, those symbols are crucially important.
Thank
because
you.
if we're together as one, we can move in the same direction. But if we continue to split in the direction you see, Liberia is not going to fully actualize. There's too many of togetherness in my country. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Ansel. Let me go to Joseph Conto. Joseph, you are live.
Thank you, Mr. Jab, for taking my call. Look, I prefer not the Liberian flag being changed for the simple fact that the Republic called Liberia today, while it is true that we have people there when the founding father reached there, there was nowhere called Liberia. We cannot get rid of our history, by just changing the flag. Changing the flag will not do anything for the nation. First of all, if we change the flag, what next? We might be talking about those who have the name of Jones, Carey, or Matthews, and what have you, to change their names to Sao Boso or Kamara or whatever name that we have. Even as that will not solve the problem. Okay? Now, people, Mr. Gilman spoke about the American colony styling with 3 stars and what have you. They did not change the flag, did not change the strap. The strap had always been 13 straps that represented the first 13 colonies. The only thing that they did, they added a star when other states were included. So if it comes to Liberia, if that's the case, then we should increase the star.
Thank you.
What's going to happen if we change the flag today, and then Liberia ends up having about 20 counties? Are we going to change the flag again?
Thank you,
So
Joseph.
that is the point. The whole discussion here, the fight and the debate is all about getting rid of those that actually established the nation that we call Liberia today. And it needs to stop. We need to focus on building the country.
Thank you.
And we need to focus on uniting all of us instead of dividing us. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Let me take one more caller and I'll go to my panelists before I take the rest. This one from Massachusetts, 508 area code 6896. That's the last 4 digits. You're alive. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm Cyrus. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So there are 1 or 2 fundamental questions I want to ask. Like one of the panelists said, Sharif, if we agree to change the flag, what does it do for the common person in a village that don't have food to eat? So I think there is something fundamentally that is responsible, that is keeping our country down, and it goes beyond the issue of changing flag. I think there is lack of patriotism in our country, that we need to create more awareness for love for country than the way our politicians or whoever see government to be. That they go in government, steal government money onto themselves and enrich themselves and leave the poor people. So I think our focus should be improving the lives of our people and preaching our justice, and we can be able to reduce more of the social injustices that is happening in our country, that is making the country to go backward almost every day. So I think for me, that is more paramount as compared to changing the flag, that won't do anything for the poverty-stricken people of our country. Thank you for the discussion. But I think that is mine, as Liberian, because
Thank you.
I listened to one of your callers, like the lady was talking about issues. So are people
forget about the lady, you tell your own.
The flag, or are they disenchanted as a result of the poverty that the country is going through?
Thank you. Let me go to my panelists, and I will take Mr. Tule and Mr. Jones will respond to our callers, and then I will take a few more callers. Mr. Tule.
Yeah, I've listened to the callers, I listened to the other panelists, and I will stick to the same thing I've been saying from day one. This flag still elicits a feeling of belonging. Anytime that flag is hoisted, if you go to when Lone Star is playing football, people wear the flag with pride and dignity. You don't hear them saying, "Oh, this flag represents," or "it was signed by 13 men, or 11 men or 12 men." The reality here is this: the indigenous population that was here were basically almost primitive, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. The people that came when they were declaring independence, they didn't hold a conference to say, "Oh, we're bringing the other people to come and declare independence." They did what they knew to do.
Right.
They had people who were telegraphing their action. Jehudi Ashman was here, and he was one of those that telegraphed the entire thing. So my point here is this: those who knew themselves. What was their relationship with the indigenous population at that time? It was a very hostile relationship.
Right.
Okay. Hold on, Dennis. 1 minute.
Yeah, no, I want to take more color. So we are here now. They were not included at that time. So we are here now. The argument they're making is how do we bring everybody together? Even though
the flag, Dennis, I would say this, and I would say it with all humility. If you want to change Liberia, changing these symbols will not change us fundamentally.
I agree.
Our fundamental flaws have to be done. It's education. I was just talking to Mr. Gaiman today. I think this morning I was telling him to change things, to create a national consciousness and a national sensitivity towards Liberia, or sense of belonging, patriotism, and nationalism. It has to do with men rising up and say, this is the Liberia we hold on to. These are the ideologies we espouse, and this is what we are going to teach our children. We are Liberia. Liberia is great. But that message is not resounding across the nation. People don't like the country because of the corruption, the nepotism, the cronyism, the patronage, and all these different vices that they're seeing. So they're just existing.
Thank you. Let me go to Alex. Mr. Jones,
I take exception to the fact that, the people who were on the ground were primitive. I think that's very descending and that's very wrong. If the people who came were civilized, then they should have done things in a civilized manner, to know that you don't go to people's homes, regardless of the state of affairs, and impose on them, subjugate them, and whatnot. So if anybody were primitive, are the 11 people who signed the flag, or the people who left from here and went to people's land? Because that's the same thing that the colonists that brought about colonization. That's the same thing that brought about apartheid. The people left from Europe and said, well, the people in South Africa were primitive people, so they didn't deserve their country. So we shouldn't say that. I mean,
disagreeing, Alex, disagreeing with it doesn't change the fact that it's the reality. They were
hold on.
I think they were. I don't think they were primitive. I think the ones who were
they were sophisticated.
Ones who
were sophisticated in their own way.
That way, primitive. Primitive is not someone because you have an education, Western education. The people were civilized. They live in the tribes for hundreds of years. They grew their food. They never depended on anything export. How can you call people like that primitive? They had a culture or tradition. You left for all year in slavery and went there. Okay.
What is the meaning of primitive?
Yourself together and fought. So your definition of primitive, I think, is misguided. Okay.
Thank you. Let me go back to our colors.
The second question, well, before you get to the caller, the second question here is about not changing the flag, or changing the flag would mean something. The problem in Liberia has always, and it's the lack of leadership. It will be a good leadership that would change things in unison with changing symbols. Nobody's saying that you should only change the flag, or you shouldn't change the economy, or you shouldn't change even the constitution. I'm a big proponent. We need to change the constitution. Our constitution is a piece of shit, really. When you say that the president can appoint, even high school principal, where are you going with that? You have a county that doesn't even have their own, can't even they entitled only $206,000 of the national budget, when most of the resources coming from those counties. So these are the things. So you're not just changing flag, but it's a good place to start. And who are going to do it? We're all saying that, we need to unite. We have to do that. The forefathers that we're here talking about, the Tubman, they did not do that. So it's on us now to start to come up with these progressive ideas to say, let's change not just the flag, let's change even the Morovia. Why are we carrying a former slave owner or someone who endorsed slavery as the capital?
Thank you, Alex. Let me go back. There are so many callers. Callers, please be brief this time. We want to get through this quickly. Our time is fast spent. We have like 15 minutes to end the show. Let me go to Christopher Urati Tubasi. You are live.
Yeah, Mr. John, I want to say thank you, but I wish if you are giving me like 2 minutes.
1 minute,
Because
please.
I've been talking about this thing, I've been pushing this thing. Look, Mr. John, we have to rewrite the history of Liberia. A history of dignity, pride, respect, and sense of identity. You talk about Sesto River. Who is Sesto? What is the original name, the indigenous name for that river? You talk about St. John. What did St. John do for you and me? Who is St. John? What is the original name for the river? And look, if we want to talk about history, we got to be factual, we got to be real. Everything in Liberia is one lie after one lie after one mistake after. Look, you talk about General Harper. What did Harper do for the people from Sano or that part of Liberia? What did he do? Why must we honor General Harper for what? Bikelo. Why must we honor Bikelo for what did Mr. Bikelo do? Can you get independent from a society or from a country? Liberia was a colony of America. America's hand is dirty. They can't wash their hand from this thing. They know that they treated Liberians and the people of Liberia as a colony. Let me tell you today, American colonization society does not. What is that? Only a country can get independent to another country.
Thank you, sir.
We gotta go back to this thing. We gotta go study this thing. We gotta go read about this thing and rewrite our history of dignity, respect, so that we all can be Liberians, so that we all can embrace this country. We gotta change things. We gotta fix things. Other countries took both steps.
Thank you, Chris.
Anyway, we'll continue again.
Yeah.
We'll have another day to talk about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The caller ending with 0890. Your name and where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Clarissa. Thank you for inviting me to your platform.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to speak on the issue of the flag changing. First, I'm a teacher. I teach in America. So, my daughter works in Liberia. And where she works, they call her Congo. Oh, the Congo girl. She coming to import or not. It was not her fault that walking and fled. But she fled Liberia. She was about 5 years old. But she had Liberia at heart, and she wanted to go back home. All the way I tried, she went back home. So like Muhammad said, if we don't educate the people for us to start loving ourselves, this will never happen. Her assistant, he doesn't do his work because he's way older than her. He said, "Why am I going to do this Congo girl's work? Why should that?" So in my opinion, they're trying to eradicate the Congo people. You change the flag, eradicating Congo people, you will have to change the names, whatever. And one thing I want to let you know too, I work in a school, and one day I went in the teacher's classroom and I saw this book. Something just caught my attention and I opened this book. And she yelled at me and said, "Close that book, little girl." But I continued to open the book. As I was flipping, I saw a lot of stuff about Liberia. This particular book, it will not teach it in the school anywhere in America. But one thing that caught my attention was, the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flags of Liberia. One God, one nation under God was removed from our pledge. One nation under God was in our pledge. And America never had one nation under God. So I took the book to her and I showed it to her. I said, how come you got this? Not knowing, they went back to Liberia and told them, the colonizer at that time, to take out one nation under God, and they came back and put one nation under God in their pledge. Yeah. And that's how we don't have, whatever, one nation under God in our pledge.
Thank you.
Yes. True living story. Check it. That book is with this lady today. I want to get that book. One more thing that is dividing our country. Another information. My son went to Liberia and he took his COVID test and he was asked to go online to get his report. When he went online, he saw something, they asked him for tribe. Why should you be asking people about tribe? You should be asking people about nationality, not tribe. You say, Mommy, I saw a Dungo clan, blah, blah, blah. Shouldn't they be asking people about nationalities instead of tribe? All Liberians are Liberians. Indians are Indians. Lebanese are Lebanese. You know, I think that's how it should be.
Right.
There's
I
still
agree.
division in the country with this Congo people and that, like Mr. Mohammed said. We have to get our priority right for us to have peace among ourselves. And loving ourselves as Nigerians and not tribalistic or this Congo or that crown or that.
I agree.
That's what I want to contribute.
Thank you so much,
So look
Clementine.
that Liberia, how one nation on the ground was to remove these people and put us in their pledge and will let us do nothing. That's what got us today. Our God. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clementine. Thank you. Let me go to area code 717, last 4 digits 7845. You have 40 seconds.
James calling from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Your name again?
James Davis.
James, go ahead. You have less than 1 minute. We want to be fast now.
Yeah, I think I agree with some of the platform guests that say teaching anything will not do anything for Liberia. Changing our mindset. I think what we need to do, we need to get high on the constitution to prosecute criminals, because you see everybody fighting for government. I know through government they can get money. You see, for example, I'm now a policy or I'm now supporter of Ibrahim Dina. Ibrahim Dina went with $3, he get over 100,000 in less than 1 year. So everybody will be fighting to go in government position because they want to see. And that's the only way the country will not move forward. They say that the way the country can move forward. That's not true. But if we start persecuting people, sending anti-corruption wounded, they're going to persecute people, it's going to be better. People, they're going to down to the president. When you're going to see, we remove you from power. Anybody will remove you from power. And we should hire a defense system, the army, the police, the military to support this unit. It should be in their hand. Anybody that can move on you and remove you from power, I think that will make the breath to move forward. So the way you think you see, the law of liberty brought out there. They deny America, they deny Liberia again, and out of Africa, also they say America, they deny them to become slavery. They want the law of liberty now. Where is it?
Thank you, brother. Let me go to Stephanie. Stephanie, you're live. 8218, last 4 digits. Go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Hey, this is Umoja calling from Oregon, Portland. How you guys doing?
Oh, okay. What's your name again?
Umoja.
Umoja, go ahead. You're live.
Hey, I really appreciate the discussion that you guys are having. And I'm an American born and raised. However, I have a few Liberian friends, and a group of us actually appreciate the history that Liberia have for African Americans, and we plan on making Liberia home for us one day. And from what you're talking about the flag, we literally was just having a conversation about it last week. But ultimately, like one of my brothers said in the comment section, changing the flag is just a form of symbolism if nothing else changes. So, like, I think that the conversation needs to be geared around what's going on in government, what's going on with the people, what's going to make how can we change and make Liberia better? And then we could change the flag. Then we could change the names of the streets. Then we could change the names of the counties and the different cities. But just to change a name, but everything still be the same, we'll just have a more African symbols, but it'll still be a bunch of corruption. It'll still be a bunch of just drama instead of actually changing from the inside out, not just changing in appearance, if that makes sense. So I absolutely believe that the flag should change too, personally. But however, I'm not born in Liberia, so it doesn't mean to me what it might mean to a nation born Liberian. But I'll say change from the inside out, not the outside in.
Thank you. That's very important. Let me go to Dr. Batam Kula from right here, Atlanta. Dr. Kula, you're live. 1 minute, please. Dr. Kula, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, basically, my take on this whole thing is that flag needs to be changed, as the TRC said. We need to change our symbols so that we're more of a collective. Now, nobody wants to erase the American Liberians, right? We can put the red, white, and blue, which is a replica of the American flag, if they want that security blanket, up in the corner somewhere, but have something that represents what Liberia stands for, the Green Coast, maybe green, but the fact that we had abundant iron ore, maybe gray, and black because we're black people, and Liberia was a nation built for black people. Now, when you do that, you bring our people together. All this other stuff about the economy and the mindset and all that, yes, that's something that we can talk about. But our symbols, meaning our flag, our motto, all those things make the collective as far as the body politic is concerned. So let's not conflate the issues with the mindset and the corruption and our symbols. The Good Governance Commission is going to deal with the symbols whether we like it or not, just like how South Africa's flag has changed to where the Europeans still have their color. The blacks have their color in there too, their symbols in there too. And we have to realize that nobody wants to raise anything. Now, the funny thing about it, I hear when people are talking about the names. Most of the names in Liberia are for white men that ran the American colonization society, and these people are there supporting and sitting, raising Cain about keeping white men mean that pretty much enslaved our people, instead of saying, you know what, let's name it for J.J. Roberts and other people that were the black Americans that actually ran the country after the white governors left and whatnot. So let's think about bringing the whole country together, not just a few. Nobody wants to erase anybody. That's my take on that.
Thank you. We have a caller here from Edmonton in Canada, Alberta. Caller, you're live. Your name?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello. Your name?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm on Zico calling from Alberta, Canada.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So this topic is yes. This topic is not a new thing, but whenever this topic is brought up, whenever they bring it up, there's always a distraction. People will bring up so many other things. Oh, this is not in place. This has to be done before we can do this. Oh, that real lack rules. Oh, the economic hardship. All these things. These are all distractions. Liberia have an identity crisis. It's not new. It's giving everyone a hard time, whether in Liberia or outside of Liberia. This is not new. People laugh at us. I don't know about some of you too, but we have come across, we all have traveled, we come across different people from different parts of the world. They laugh at us when it comes to this flag. They say it's a complete cap or copycat. Besides just that, I don't know whether it was 2014 or 15, there was some Liberian in Turkey that got shot because they were mistaken to be Americans because of the flag. When they were gathered, I think they were celebrating independence. But because of our good relationship with the Turkish government and the Liberian government, they were able to handle that situation, and they were all taken to the hospital and taken care of. This flag is a bad luck on this country.
What?
It's not improving the life of our people. It got nothing to do with us. It don't represent us. It's an African. But people don't want to accept the fact. But because of the red, white, and blue, this American association, we want to be associated with this so-called superpower. This superpower association is not improving our lives.
Thank you.
African countries, they were all colonized within the continent of Africa. They all achieved certain things. They are making progress. You go to Namibia, Botswana, Rwanda, come down to all the countries. They are making progress.
Thank you, brother.
This American association we all have, what progress is Liberia making? Our capital looks like a slum or some kind of global village. But with all Americanized names. You go to Rwanda, it's all Igbo Kigali. They are all their names are in their language.
Thank you.
They're much more modern than Liberia.
Thank you. There's a history why
this flag has to go, my people.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Better.
Yeah. Thank you.
No one is erasing anyone or American Latino. This is not what you call a hit. It's not about hit. It's about us being a uniting, something that unifies us as a people.
Thank you.
So that those that come after our children can understand and have a sense of unity.
Thank you. I have
That's
two.
thing. These things people laughing and talking about this. These are all distractions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two last caller. Then we're going to be breaking down the phone lines. Yeah, just 2 and 30 seconds each. The caller with last 4 digits 9537. You're live. 30 seconds. Caller, you're live.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Your name.
My name is Christian, but my 30 seconds is going to be like no sure. But I want to say 3 or 5, but the problem we're facing in Liberia, and people don't want to talk about it when we talk about it until we are pushing defeated politics. I, as a little boy growing up, I watched the American Liberians lead the country a lot. They lead the country a lot. And whenever they lead the country, they practice something we call nepotism. Nepotism is what they practice. And they will tell you not to do nepotism as a native man. Not to do nepotism, but they will tell you about nepotism. So I think it's bad government from the beginning that brought us to this place that we now taking a position of players or what is the problem. Those retired slaves that went back, I'm not insulting anybody or saying anything bad against them. Those people were supposed to change their mindset, not to blame Liberia for their problem. But I used to be one of my friends, and he blame Africa for Africa setting their house
Let's keep the discussion to the flag. Let's keep the discussion to the flag. Should we change the flag or not?
That's what I'm saying. It's not about the flag, it's about us. We're the individual.
Okay.
That's why it is. It's not about the flag. The flag has nothing to do with us. But we have to change our mindset, and we have to be for Liberia.
Thank you.
Specifically for Liberia, when we lead the country, we should lead for Liberia, not for, because I'm a Congo. That one girl was talking about Congo. That's why I'm trying to bring this up.
Thank
she
you.
said why her daughter is being neglected in Liberia as a Congo. Because we know the history of the Congo. So that's why.
Thank you.
She listening to the show because we know what they did to her. They make her hot boys and hot girls.
Thank you.
And they enjoy the wealth of the country. That's why.
Thank you.
So that's why somebody would say, I don't want to work for Congo party. So the fact is, if you are Congo, you should not be Congo. You should have a Liberian. Instead of you calling, there's nobody should be called Congo. But because of your mentality, the way you do things, you are quite way different from the native people. So now it's hard to put a trace.
Thank you, brother.
Examples are Ellie Johnson. They employ their children in government and steal the wealth of the country.
Thank you, Christian.
They need to stop in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last caller, Anthony Nimle. Is that a name?
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I appreciate the conversation that is going on. First and foremost, like I stated previously, we have more pressing issues at hand in our country. If we cannot actually allow a president to serve on his full term in office, are we going to stay on this flag issue for how long?
It's never resolved yet.
How long are we going to talk? How long will we talk about our education?
Okay.
To educate our children. There are pressing issues going on right now, guys. We have the microphone to make a difference. Let's put the flag business aside.
Okay.
And talk about some development, education, healthcare, how to help our country get out of the trenches. And then we sit at the table and discuss these issues. Because wise men discuss issues, and it is the fools who argue them.
Thank you.
Which one are we doing right now?
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, these are all our callers. Now we're going to go around the room and give our closing statements. Time is fast spent, and we wanted to give room for a lot of our callers. So let's go around the room, starting with Professor Zaulo. Your closing comments.
You brought Anthony here to call us stupid, call us fools, right?
Well, that is
because he said we discussing, our fools can discuss, and the wise man can do what. But look, on a serious note, I know I think we've learned a lot today, and I think for those on the side of changing the flag of Liberia, I think we made a very strong case. I've been monitoring the feeds coming in from people. I listen to the callers. I think we made a very strong case. And look, folks, I think you guys did a wonderful job. I learned a lot from you guys, all three of you on the other side. I learned a lot from you guys. I know we didn't help, we didn't educate Zizi anyway, but I learned from you guys. Look, this is not about what we are trying, what we're advocating for is about bringing people together. And as you heard from most of the callers, it's about a sense of national identity. Let's be fair. This present symbols of our country, the motto, the national anthem, the names of cities, towns, rivers, and a whole host of them do not represent us, do not create a sense of national identity. Most of those symbols are symbols of isolation and disrespect to a significant portion of our population. What changing of these symbols will do is that it will begin the process of creating a sense of national identity, and perhaps then, with that sense of belonging and national identity, there'll be a tent to some of the many challenges that we face as a people in the country. So I hope, we will continue to have these discussions, and, we'll continue to learn and evolve to get to the point where we can use it. There's one other thing I wanted to say to you. There are a lot of people out there who do not understand why are we discussing this today. I don't know, maybe I can say it. It's because tomorrow is Flag Day, guys. Day after tomorrow is Flag Day. Yeah. That's why we are discussing it, because people are confused. But why are we discussing this when we have tons of problems in Liberia? We are on the eve of the Flag Day, and such makes sense to be discussing the flag. So again, thank you very much to everybody, and I really enjoyed being here. It was very, very educating for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Since we have, again, it's a very important topic. Everywhere people discuss this issue, sometimes people say, "Oh, if you say it's divisive." There's nothing divisive about discussing about ourselves. This is our country. Our destiny is in our hands, and so we should discuss. Mr. Goya, your closing comments, please.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. And like I said, I came on here to approach this as an academic exercise, to understand why the flag should be changed and what are the empirical evidences that people got to present. I understand my brother, Mr. Gaiman, was trying to make fun of my mathematical background as I'm a linear thinker. But linear thinking is nothing wrong. But beyond that, as a mathematician, I'm an analyst. I guess he doesn't recognize that. I like to live within the confines that I'm given. I like to live within my domain. So people get here and they bring a lot of fluff, right? Because you have no argument, so you bring in everything else. We are here discussing the flag, whether it should be changed or not, and people throw in so many other things because the argument cannot be made within a defined domain. And that's a problem I got with the way people think. As of now, Professor Paulo, I still challenge you to put in the chat room your evidence that the three colors represent the three original colonies. I'm willing to learn. You have not yet done that, so I'm still going to hold you to that. Put that in the chat room, and I'll change my mind. I will call you and I will apologize because I need to learn that. I haven't learned that. So if you put that in there, I appreciate that as a professor. But having said that, none of the arguments you put forth has changed my mind. I think it was lazy. I think there hasn't been anything that speaks to, you say, well, maybe, what if, who has to say that if we change the flag and if we not change the flag, people are not patriotic? Well, maybe I did too much to Bagi, that's why I'm not patriotic. We don't know that. There is no empirical evidence on that. But we talk, and so I came on here and said, look, convince me. Are we asking to change the flag because we understand that this was plagiarism? Is that because the founding fathers of the nation were academically lazy, so they brought forth everything they knew? Is that the argument? Then let me know so we know how to discuss that. Nobody made that argument. Instead, the argument was all around the place. So as of yet, I have learned nothing. People talking about their gut check, but gut check is now how you have an academic exercise on academic discussion. So if we are looking at, I'm not here to say the settlers or the American Liberians or whatever name you want to give them did not do harm when it came to Liberia. That's not my point, right? I'm not here to say that we should have Buchanan. I'm not here to say that we cannot name change of places, but that was not the defined domain of this discussion. You're asking about changing the flag. And that's why I try to remain disciplined on that. And my answer is still no, because I've not seen any logical discussion on that. The flag, as given to us and as interpreted to us, was 11 stripes representing the 11 delegates, not even the signers of the declaration, but 11 delegates to the convention. And since those 11 have not changed and will never change, then it makes no sense to be talking about changing that. And we cannot compare that to America simply because America added stars. Yeah, but the interpretation of the stars in America.
Thank you, Sissy.
Yeah, I'm about to learn. The interpretation of the stars in the American flag was to account for the number of states. That was not the same thing in Liberia. So let's stop trying to compare apples and oranges.
Thank you. It's Tule, 2 minutes. Conclude, please. Your closing comments. You're muted, Mr. Tule.
You muted me. You should unmute me. The issue here is I want to first appreciate everyone who came on the show. I will read something. The Lone Star Forever. I said initially that there is nothing wrong with our national symbols. They were our symbols. They were the symbols of those who declare independence in Liberia. And I said something in Alex Stokes' defense. I said that people were primitive. Primitive means that they had not moved from their original existence, the patterns of existence. That does not mean they were not people. Their patterns that I don't know, it was Jerome and I were talking about it, or whoever were talking about it, talking about how the Europeans took what we had, our science and everything, and improve upon it. We remain closer to our origins, and they improved upon it, and it became more sophisticated. The people who came from there, our people are still using canoes, and they came with sail ships. Okay, they came with a little bit more sophistication. They could read and write or written language. Most of our people could not read and write. Maybe those who could read and write Arabic were still on the land. Where am I going with this? Our symbols have never been our problem, people. Those symbols have never been our problem. The red, white, and blue. Every time it's hoisted in the school, the kids will proudly stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm telling you, in Liberia, it's still illicit, a source of pride and identity. The problem here is for over 30 years, almost 40 years now, 40 years, we have neglected to carve out a national identity. We've become so existential in our mentality, everybody for himself, everybody seeking to enrich himself, that we have left off defining a national identity and teaching young people a sense of belonging to a nation. So as a result, the people have grown. We've raised children. A whole generation of Liberians have grown up who are divorced from the original concept of what being a Liberian is, and that is the problem. So if we can resolve that, we will be fine.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gilman for your closing comments.
I didn't even read. You didn't even allow me to read my stanza. Can you allow me to read one stanza?
Let me play a tape, man. Let me play a tape.
Just one stanza. It's not a tape.
Jerome, no, we don't want to go above time. We have 9 minutes to be 2 hours. Let Jerome.
Then it's just 1 minute. In less than 30 seconds, I can read that one stuff. Just less than 30 seconds. Then forward, sons of freedom, march. Defend the sacred heritage. The nation's call from age to age. Wherever it sounds, neath heaven's ark. Wherever foes assail, be ever ready to obey. Against treason and rebellion's front, against foul aggression in the burnt, of battle lay the hero's way, or hail Lone Star or hail. That flag means something, and we need to start teaching it once more instead of throwing it away.
Thank you. Jerome.
Well, thank you very much, guys. I'm sorry that we don't have any women, no ladies here, not for the lack of trying, just that we couldn't make that happen. But let me address Mr. Zizi real quick. This is why when I was in grad school, they will say to us, when you graduate, you are a social scientist, you are a sociologist, you got a degree in sociology. Please do not discuss academic issues in sociology. You are doing something about transferring knowledge. And this is what my brother is doing. You are a mathematician. You are a straightforward person. You believe in angles, so you don't believe in the social sciences. I'm saying that to Mr. Tule, You are talking about what you just read. I don't know if anybody in Grand Bassa County can recite and understand what you just said. It looks like Latin. And second, that is something we call rote learning. I think my brother Goya knows about rote learning, what we just memorize and don't know what it means, so it doesn't affect us. Now the flag, and let me my last 30 seconds here. I know my brother keep talking about academic, and the School of University of Chicago for all sociology is the holy grail for social thinking. And this is what it said: national symbols are easily recognized entities that are used as a means to communicate the history and the culture of a particular people. This is history in its context in the social sciences. So when we talk about symbolism, it has to communicate our culture, our shared belief, things that can bring us together. And this particular flag does not do that. In essence, it divides us as we are talking here. Thank you very much for the chance to express my view.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, thank you very much for being here. Even though I will admit this is not my cup of tea or my expertise, but I thank you all anyways. It was a pleasure to be in the company of very fine, bright Liberians. Having said that, I want to just use my 2 minutes to address one of the callers that talked about us changing our mindset. Because I've heard this play over and time again. I don't know what mindset you're talking about. Or when you hear the phrase that Liberians don't love Liberia. Are you telling me Chinese love China more than Liberia loves Liberia, or Japan? Because if you go back and check the history, most of these people were just as barbaric. They fought wars, they were corrupt, and so forth. I think the issue in Liberia is just the lack of leadership. It's not that our minds, it's a leader that is the one who lead the path. We saw in America, Abraham Lincoln for over 100 years, America has slavery. One man came and dedicated himself and his administration to ending slavery. So until we get that leader, all right, we are not going to be able to progress without changing the flag. If you ask me personally, I think the flag is very ugly. That's enough reason to change it, to find something that is more pleasant to the eyes and beautiful. I mean, I just see stripes and the star. Like I said earlier, it looks like Texas flag or American flag. When you look at the county flags, they are much more pleasant images of most of the county's flag than what we have as the national flag. So I think more thoughts were put into the county flag, and maybe that same idea we should take that on a national level, form committees, the expertise, and bring them together to change. But lastly, it's all Liberia is just a lack of leadership, and that's not lack of leadership of just George Weah, Boyka, or Salif. The lack of leadership of Mr. Sawolo, Alice Jones, Mr. Dennis Jah, and all of us who sit here. What mindset we have the brightest education in the country. I just go 10 seconds. We're in the best country in the world. We're technologically advanced. We have all of the resources, and we still complain. We're not even united in America. Then we're talking about why we're not united in America. Why there's there aren't Liberian organization here that are doing wonderful things, providing healthcare, providing other services for all of Liberia.
Thank you, Alex.
We fail in our leadership, and that's what we have to address and change. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me go to my colleague from Waplo.
I love Waplo. But listen, I just wonder if I may push back on the idea that because someone is a mathematician, so they can't be an analyst and things. This is doing a terrific job with whom I'm so honored to share this platform. Liberia, instead of a representation of the African people's ability to govern themselves, it's a national tragedy in many ways. You look at what's going on now. There is corruption. Okay. there's malfeasance, there's the government inability, the leadership inability to govern. People are going to bed hungry. So no one tonight in the city of Monrovia, in Zwedru, in Kalipo, is thinking about the flag. People going to bed hungry is not saying, okay, please change the flag so I can have a cup of rice. I can have, something on my table to eat. People are going hungry because of the lack of leadership. People are poor because of the lack of leadership. The greed, the selfishness is all over the place. You have the presidents whose wife has more, how do you call it, national funding than the counties combined. That is a national tragedy. So, don't tell me about a piece of cloth and what it's going to do for you. The flag is not doing that. We need to change our national attitude. And one other thing I need to address quickly is that this issue of them versus us, we against them, the Congo people, the American Liberian against the natives. And then when you go inside the native population, you have this group of native, I'm more Liberian than him. I'm more Liberian than her. When is all this going to stop? So we need to re-examine our national attitude before we can talk about changing the national flag. What about, the Constitution? How come we can't talk about the Constitution? Why should the president govern for 6 years, 2-year term of 12 years? Why should we have senators go for 9 years? Why can't we even talk about those things rather than, put our hopes on or, direct our arguments, our energies on changing the flag? The flag does not mean anything when the people are dying of diseases, when the people cannot get food to eat, when there's no motor road. You try to go from Monrovia to Zwedru, you will be on that highway for a week. And this is a 174-year-old country. That is inexcusable. And in fact, it's a crime. It's very criminal for these people, the way they are governing our country. So talk to me about those national issues. And don't talk to me about flag right now because it doesn't mean anything.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to thank you so much, and our viewers want to appreciate you for being here. This is what we do here on Focus on Liberia. We open these national conversations, and this is just one issue that we are discussing. So besides the flag today, we also discuss other issues. We discuss the Constitution, Mr. Sherry. We discuss dual citizenship. We discuss chemistry. We discuss it all right here on Focus on Liberia, and you can have it anywhere else. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for the conversation. Let's keep talking, and I like to quote Dr. Formula. He said, our mouth is not gone. So it's better to talk than to fight. These conversations are very necessary. We should not run away from them. Nobody should chastise you for even talking about Congo country, for talking about Mandingo Crown, Guillaume Minor. Let's talk about it. These issues, they keep coming back because we have refused to solve them. Sometimes we run away from them because in our minds, we believe they are divisive or they are not important. We have more national priorities. Why don't we talk about this? Why don't we talk? But these issues still come to haunt us. We are a national tragedy. We are a war because we don't even visit one another. We don't even have market day that would take people from Glay to go to Plibo. We don't have football. We don't exchange. So we don't visit one another. So what do? We suspect. What we do is we stereotype other people. The way we pronounce the names of other ethnic groups is derogatory because we don't know one another. So we fill in those gaps with stereotypical minds. That has to change. And how does that change? With a national discourse like this one. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. I appreciate you. Now, Tuesday is Flag Day. If you want to come back here and talk about the significance of the Liberian flag, a symbol, what does it symbolize for us? Please hit me up, focusonliberia@gmail.com, and we can have that discussion. At Focus on Liberia, we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Until then, from all of us here at Focus on Liberia, we want to end with this song that says, whether you believe the flag should be changed, should be modified, or maintained, we are all Liberians. And it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to do our best to make Liberia that glorious land of liberty. Thank you, good night, and God bless.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia.